Hey everyone, welcome to SOVL or SOVL. I'm Disturbing Puppet. So this is an interesting one. It's a free game. I'm assuming it's still in early access because there are still things kind of being changed and some things in the rules are still kind of put up as to be added or done. So the rules reference here, unfortunately, is not in-game. It takes you to a secondary website, which has all the rules for it. I've always been hoping for a game that's very similar to Warhammer Fantasy. This is pretty close, but it's very, very basic. It does have a bunch of factions in it you can play with. It does have a little bit of a campaign. It's more of like a roguelike mode. You can kind of build up your army as you go along. I've been having some fun with it, but I'm playing as dwarves, so that's kind of how it goes. So we're going to kind of jump into the campaign and play a little bit, and I'll talk a little bit about what I have as far as thoughts so far on this game, and I'm just probably going to call it SOVL from here on out. So let's jump back into the campaign that I've been playing, and we'll talk a little bit about the game. So we're just going to resume our ongoing. We're playing as a Dwarven Foreman. So it'll load up a map. It's kind of similar to pretty much every roguelite map you've ever seen. So I have already done the first battle. So you can kind of see we've got a nice legend down here. We've got our battles. We've got random events, an armory where we can get some stuff, elite battles for tougher fights, campsites we can recover some additional guys. We've got money. We can use that at the armory for stuff. Let's take a look at my army here, and we'll talk about some stuff. So I started off with my character here, Borin Shieldbreaker, who comes with a retinue. The retinue's been added to. We had some dwarf veterans and a couple bolt throwers. So we can kind of see a whole bunch of stats here, and a lot of these we started with, but then we've added some stuff since then. So we kind of look at the foreman here. If it'll actually let me look, we can change our organization if we want to and kind of play around with that. Your first two ranks will fight. Pretty much in all cases. There are certain weapons that will let you fight. Like if you have spears, actually your first three ranks will be able to fight if you're up against an enemy. So this is how you're going to look on the battle map. So it is very simplistic. So we have my character and all his stats, and then I think I'll click here. There we go. So yeah, we have a variety of different stats and things we'll go over. So my character, for skill. So skill is your ability to hit stuff, whether it's ranged or in close combat. For ranged, it's basically if you've got a 3, you're going to hit 50% of the time. So it's all based on d6s, so 4, 5, or 6. If you have a 4, it's going to be 3 or better. And I think that's as high as it goes for range stuff. There's weird limitations on stuff. So it's sort of like Warhammer would have those kind of stats like ballistic skill. But this is both hitting at range and in close combat. When it's hitting in close combat, you're going to compare skills with each other. And if you have equal skill, you hit on a 4 or better. If you have higher skill, you hit on a 3 or better. And if you have less skill, you hit on a 5 or better. You can't make it any worse or better than that. So you're pretty much always guaranteed to get hits, which does make combats very deadly and very quick. But I feel like I prefer the ability to like compare, and actually like a really skilled opponent would make it really hard for your opponents to get hits. I feel like that would be a better way to go. So once we've done that, in like Warhammer Fantasy, you then would make a roll to wound. There is no roll to wound in this game at all. You hit, you immediately go to an armor save. So the armor save incorporates both the toughness and the armor that you're wearing. So you can kind of see my character here has got a 5 defense. So take basically the power versus defense, and this can kind of shift. I think it only will shift a couple. So if you have less, you're going to need like a 5 if it's 1 less, something like that. 4 if it's 1 less, 5 if it's 2 less, that kind of thing. But I think it doesn't go any worse than that. I think you can't get worse than 6. You can get really bad rolls on range attacks, because if you're doing a long range attack, so something that's more than half the range of the weapon, you get a -1 to the dice you needed. So I've seen some attacks that require 6s, but it seems like pretty much no matter what, 6s will always be successes. But in close combat, you're pretty much looking at like 4 or better is standard if you're higher, 3 or better, or 4 or better if you have less skill, 3 or better if you're higher skill, right? Thinking about it backwards. So yeah, that gives you a lot of ability to kill stuff very quickly. Then we have wounds. So it's a character, so he's got 3 wounds. Discipline is basically your ability to stay in the fight after you fail a fight. And we'll get into that in just a minute. So when I do a fight with this, we've got the character in here mixed in with these guys, so he will fight along with these guys. So it'll do all the combats together. It usually starts with the characters and then it'll roll for the individual guys. All combat is considered to be simultaneous, so even if you get killed like everyone in the front line, they still get a chance to hit you back before they die. So combat is pretty deadly. So we have a bunch of special abilities here. So hand weapon and shield +1 defense, and then charge bonus +1 power. That's pretty standard. So if you charge somebody, you basically kind of having one higher power. That's sort of the benefit of charging. Sturdy. This is just something affecting heavy armor, which these guys don't have. Shield wall is a special ability. We can activate one special ability per combat. We'll get into some combats here in a bit. True Strike, he gets to reroll all his missed attacks, which is pretty fantastic. We've got another skill here, which is actually a spell, which is kind of weird. So we can do this instead of shield wall and give him, just him, this special bonus of additional power, defense, and attacks. And offensive mastery gives him additional attacks. So we can kind of see a lot of this is just changed as far as the stats go. So my Dwarf Foreman alone has 36 kills. So when I was picking an army to start with, it gave me an option of different characters. I chose this guy because he's kind of the standard one, but it didn't show me the stats or equipment I would start with. So there's 3 different dwarf characters. So that's something that kind of needs to be adjusted. If I'm going to pick an army and I'm going from that, I want to know what the stats are. I want to see what the differences are before I pick something. And most of these things do have, tooltips like this, but sometimes the tooltips don't always work the way you expect or don't always work. So yeah, the dwarf warriors themselves, so you can kind of see, have a little bit of a buff. They're not as strong, less power than the character, but they do have a 6 defense. That's because I just recently got them heavy armor. So we've got hand weapons here, same kind of thing, and shields. They're sturdy, they're wearing heavy armor, so these -1 movement. This extra -1 movement isn't going to be a factor, and they have veteran skill, so they're just better at hitting stuff. And I believe if they break because the character is with them, they will go from his discipline, which is a 9, rather than their own. And then I haven't seen anything about like radius of leadership, which is discipline, for like units that can see him and are close enough they can use his leadership. Doesn't seem to be a thing. If you do break, you can use an action to during the activation phase, which is kind of the movement phase, to rally those guys. So there's an option for that. So my dwarf veterans over here have been with me for a little bit. So these guys also have very high defense, very high skill. So they're good at hitting stuff, good at resisting. They've got hand weapons and shields. They've got sturdy, fearless. So they don't ignore they ignore discipline tests. So they'll fight to the death, and they have at least once. I've got a banner of mist on them. I don't know if you can actually stack multiple banners. I've had the option of grabbing another one, and I'm not sure if they just all count or just one of them. But in this case, it's a little harder to hit these guys. With ranged weapons anyway. Veteran skill gives them extra skill. The ancestral strength is an ability that I can use, and that will give them +3 power for a turn, so really good at killing stuff. So that's something that a lot of charging units, so cavalry, chariots, that kind of stuff, get a really high strength bonus when they charge, and they have really massive charge distances. The other thing I've noticed, I don't have any like regular ranged guys, but there isn't like a charge response. If I'm charged and I can also reach the enemy who's charging me, I can countercharge them, so we both count as charging. If I'm a ranged unit and I get charged, I can't shoot at them as they come in. I just get screwed. So that's another thing I think would be nice to have some kind of charge reactions, whether it would be like a brace or shoot or that kind of stuff. Anyway, I'm throwing all kinds of stuff out there. So we've got our berserkers. Where are my berserkers? Are they not even here? Berserkers. Oh, they're off down there. So the berserkers just have 2 hand weapons each. They've got frenzy, so you reroll missed attacks in the first round of combat. They're sturdy, but we don't have heavy armor on them. They've got the banner of valor, so they reroll discipline tests. They're veterans now, so we hit a little bit easier, and they've got extra discipline. So having 2 hand weapons means they all have +1 attack. So every single one of these guys and the front 2 ranks both will fight on that first round. The first round and all subsequent rounds, the first 2 ranks will fight. But on the first round, we also get, is it frenzy? Yeah, we get to reroll those attacks. So these guys can do a ton of damage if we get in on that first fight. So a little bit weaker, but they can do a ton of damage. The bolt throwers, just kind of your ranged damage, and I do have some special stuff on these guys. So as a bolt thrower, they've got pretty good range. They do 3 power 6 hits, lethal shots, so they do double wounds against multi-wound targets, so I use these guys pretty effectively against trolls. That's really all I've seen. There are also giants and I think dragons and other stuff in the game. Protected crew, so they have a little bit of protection from ranged attacks. They're veterans, so they have an extra attack. You can see they've got 2. So I think I just add, so instead of the 3, they do 4. Veteran accuracy, so these guys reroll 1s on attacks, which is quite nice. And they now have the rune of speed, so they can move and fire. So if I want to do that, we have that option. The other bolt thrower, pretty similar, just a few differences as far as we don't have some of the other stuff. So same bolt thrower, lethal shots, protected crew. So they have extra movement. I think they have the same. Yeah, I think I just dropped it. So reposition is how we move these guys. We can't pivot and shoot with these guys, so we shoot in a forward 90-degree arc. Veteran crew, veteran accuracy, so they also reroll the hits. They've got the rune of farsight, so they have a bit more range. Yeah, I think it just dropped the reposition on there. It's a special ability we have to use to actually move. That's my army. We've been kind of going through, and I fought through one map, and we're on to the second map. So let's just go back. Some of this is going to make more sense once we jump into a fight, unless you're very familiar with Warhammer Fantasy. So which way do I want to go? There are multiple places to rest on this route, so I think we probably want to go that way. We'd also like to maybe hit the armory at some point, because I do have a decent amount of cash. Yeah, let's go ahead and just jump into a fight here then. So we'll kind of go through all the steps and show you what the game is like as we do a fight. So we're fighting Deepwood Protectors. These are kind of the High Elf equivalent, sort of. So we have deployment phase. It doesn't really matter because we have simultaneous deployment. So we just kind of set up. There is impassable terrain here. We've got impassable cliffs. But we can see over this. So we can take shots with the bolt throwers. So probably I'll put the bolt throwers towards the center here. Let's do, like, we're probably going to have chariots or cavalry would be my guess. So I'm going to put kind of the tougher guys sort of out to block each side. I can't change the angle here in deployment. So I'm just going to throw these guys roughly in the center. Let's move you over a bit. These guys are kind of susceptible to damage from charges, so we could put them behind somebody else. We could try to head out on the flank, but I think that's a bit dangerous. Let's do something kind of like this, just for now, and I'll push them out as far as I can, just about there. We'll hang back just a little bit. All right, we'll call that good. Ooh, we've got multiple chariots out on my right flank. All right, so it went ahead and skipped a phase there, which is the charge phase, because nobody's in charge range. So during charge phase, you can kind of look and see what your charge distance is, and for dwarves, it's pretty short. These guys probably charge quite far. Got 2 chariots out here. That's pretty nasty. So we can go ahead and take a look. A little bit of information there now in the lower left. They've got bows, but they've got crushing charge, so charge bonus +2 power, +2 attacks, so they're really nasty. We might want to try to shoot them as a priority with the bolt throwers. So over here we've got Deepwood Dancers, 2-hand weapons, so they're going to attack a lot. Swift, extra movement, Elven Mastery, reroll missed attack rolls, Scout, ignore difficult terrain. So that's one of the things, like in Warhammer Fantasy, some of the weaker armies, like elves, would often be very fast, so they would usually hit first, and maybe be very skilled, and that would be kind of how they would survive combats. And I kind of feel like this game is missing that a little bit. I would kind of like to see at least the skill versus skill comparison, being able to push things up or down to the point of, like, at least needing a 6 to hit, you know, that kind of stuff. There are some archers here. I don't know what the range is on these guys, because it doesn't actually tell me. That would be kind of nice to know. They've got longbows, it's a range 30, but like, what does that mean as far as the map goes? I don't know. Extra movement, and they ignore difficult terrain. They've got pretty good skill as well. And then all the way out here, we've got some rangers. They look like kind of an elite unit. 2-hand weapons, and longbows, and swift, and scout, ambusher. can be deployed anywhere. Okay, Elven accuracy, reroll missed ranged attacks. Yeah, they're kind of nasty. All right, so strategic phase is for movement and for shooting. So for these guys, they have to either move or shoot, although I do have one of these guys that can do both, which is the guys with the rune of speed. But everything's kind of in range, so we might as well. Unfortunately, you cannot shoot at units that are engaged in close combat. So once these chariots come down and engage my units, I can't use my bolt throwers to shoot at them. Even when I've maneuvered my bolt throwers directly behind a unit, say like I have an enemy unit here fighting my guys, and I move my bolt thrower all the way around, turn it around, I can't shoot them. Or at an angle like this way, can't do it. Even behind them, can't do it. Just doesn't work. I also can't charge these guys, they're ranged only. So I think what we want to do is go ahead and take some shots. You can kind of see this is long range, so it's a -1 on our chance to hit. We have two options up here. So this is if we just want to move instead and reposition. This is if we're set on we want to shoot. So yeah, I think we want to go ahead and shoot one of these guys. It is only a 5 or better. So we make a shot. We get 2 hits. We saved neither one of them. So these guys are now almost dead. He takes a shot at me, gets 4 hits. I get a chance to save. We'll save on a 3 or better, and we save everything. Very nice. And that's because we can kind of duck around behind the bolt thrower. So do I want to try to kill this chariot or weaken the other one? Now you have 2 attacks. Did we roll 4 dice or 3 dice when I made that shot? I just want to double check. Yeah, we rolled 4 dice, so that's correct. All right. We're going to go ahead and take another shot at the same chariot. We only got 1 hit. He failed. Okay, so we did kill one of the chariots right off the bat. Very nice. And I have the rune of speed, so I still have the option of moving if I want to do it. So I can move and then shoot, or I can move. Do I want to pivot or anything? At this point, like I can see most things. I could move up and pivot over because I'm sure this chariot's going to come rushing down at us. So I might want to move, but I could always just move next turn. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and move slightly. So I have to go like straight up and down or angle, and the angling with these guys, it doesn't actually reduce my movement as I angle, but for regular units, it does reduce your movement as you angle. So I'm going to move over just slightly up, and I'm going to angle over a bit. And I'm going to call that good. Taking some shots at us there. He actually got quite a few hits, 8, but we save on a 2 or better, which is kind of crazy. Failed 1, so 1 guy fell to the archers there, unfortunately. So you've got left the dancers. Do I want to push up here is the question. Against the archers and the rangers. I think we could. Like, we're quite tough, so we could kind of make a move for it, but we are fairly slow. Usually I let the enemy come in at me because, you know, we're dwarves. The chariot's going to be a bit of an issue. The dancers I think we can deal with. I'm going to go ahead and move. So I'm going to move up a little bit just to angle over. And I could activate an ability, but I'm not going to. Okay, so the dancers came rushing out. The chariot hasn't activated yet, so I'm a little leery of that. I don't know how far it can charge. It's probably quite a lot. It can't charge right now, because you can only charge during the charge phase, not during the movement and fighting phase. Which does make charging in the flanks and rear difficult sometimes, because you can only charge in that charge phase. These guys are also quite tough to deal with. So I'm going to push them forward. A slight angle. Okay, chariot's trying to do something crazy. He's taking some shots at me. Got 1 hit. Did he save on a 2 or better? Nope. problem. I don't have the movement to get after anybody. Could try to maneuver into here, but I feel like he's going to try to move the chariot around, and I am going to block my own shots here if I'm not careful. Like, he can probably hit the chariot. He most likely can't, even if I can pivot. So I don't really want to block this because then I'm not going to get a shot out there. So I'm going to go ahead and move these guys out like this. Okay, so we're on to turn 2. So we're now at charge phase. So he's going to charge me here. So now I can see my charge distance. So I can countercharge. So that's what I'm going to do. And it looks like I'm actually going to get in the flank. So that's all set. So now I can kind of see my charge distances if I want to. These guys, actually he can because he's got the rune of speed. So yeah, we don't charge that far. So we'll confirm the charges and the movement automatically happens. So I don't get a chance to shoot anything or do anything crazy. He's starting off with shots over there. 6 hits. Take a few losses, unfortunately. We'll fight during the combat phase. Who do I want to prioritize? I kind of am sick of being shot at, honestly. What are your options to shoot at? See, I can't shoot him and kind of see the line of sight. It's very clear. So we could go for a 4 better or 5 or better. Let's go for the 4 better to hit. Just to mess these guys up a bit. We only got 1 hit and he's saved. That's pretty awful. Well, I think I'm going to maneuver. I want to head out this way to kind of support. So I'm going to do that. Get some more shots coming in. That's a whole bunch. 6. Save all but 1. Yep. I'm going to get eaten up trying to cross this. So that's why I'm kind of moving up the bolt thrower to support. I want to just go for the archers. Maybe I should, because they're really dangerous. These guys are shooting a lot with their 2 attacks, so let's try to pick off some of them. Missed all my shots, unfortunately. So he moved up the dancers in position where they could maybe charge me. So I'm going to move over where I can charge him and or block his attempt to come in behind me. And we could activate our ability here. Yeah, sure. Give me +3 power. This thing's not crazy tough, but it's going to make it a lot easier to destroy that thing. And then let's move. The shots have already happened, so activating a shield wall really isn't helpful. Okay, so we're on to the fight. So we got 3 hits against us. We'll save on a 4 better. Save 1. I have a whole bunch of rolls to hit here. That's a whole lot of hits. Yeah, just instantly wipe out the chariot, but I did lose a few guys. So we can see pretty clearly how few guys we have, but when ranks disappear, the units will sort of collapse very quickly. So we do have a charge coming in here, but to be closer. What? Really? I can't charge them. That's the whole reason I moved them. It must be my own unit is sort of blocking. So I don't even know why it's giving me the option to have a charge phase. Actually, these guys can charge. Yeah, it's weird. Need to be closer or flank rear to intercept. So I can't intercept them. That really sucks. So there's nothing I can do. I'm just going to get charged in the flank there. And I can't even fight or do anything. I just got to move these guys up in a position where we can charge next time. So I can't even shoot them or do anything. Let's go ahead and try to soften up. Let's go for the Rangers. 2 hits. Saved 1. At least dropped 1 of them. 4 hits coming in at my guys. We save all of them. Nice. I don't know that I can hit... No, we can hit those guys. Can I move far enough out that I can get a shot? Maybe? Yeah. Let's go for the Rangers. 3 hits. Nice. Take out 2 of them. So whittling them down a little bit. Rangers get 7 hits on me. That's crazy. We save all of them, though. Nice. Yeah, definitely needing those bolt throwers in this one more than I have, because I haven't really had an opponent like this that just kind of sat back and shot the crap out of me like this before. I'm holding pretty well because these guys are very tough. I think we want to prioritize going for the Rangers, probably. I'm not sure which one's closer, though. How far can we get? Not very far. I'm just going to charge ahead, like complete maniacs. And then here, we just want to set up these guys so that they can do something about the dancers. So if we... I'm going to have to actually do something a little different. We can just kind of go back by right-clicking. So I'm going to angle over a little bit. We can't touch the enemy units, but if we end up in a position that's okay, it'll usually let it. So yeah, like there, we're fine. And I can't get too close because then I'm touching them. So we'll just kind of be in position so that next turn we can charge these guys in the flanks, because they're not going to make these guys run away. Okay, on to the fight. They're hitting me a ton, but thankfully we have 2+ saves. I need a lot of saves here. Okay, we still lost some guys. I have a few guys who can fight back. We get 1, so we lost the fight. So we have to make a test, but we do have the, I think we reroll if we fail somewhere. Something like that. Or am I thinking of the wrong group? I don't know, we're fearless, so I'm not sure. Yeah, we passed it either way, it's fine. So now we kind of reposition so we are actually facing them, just like normal. So we go into a charge. Like I said, I've played this a bit, but you know, I'm not totally knowledgeable about everything. So you're going to charge, you can't reach, but we're getting close, actually. Alright, we'll just confirm that charge, hit them in the flank. Unfortunately, all fights are simultaneous, so he'll mainly hit those guys, do some damage. 7 hits. Take 1 more dwarf dies. These guys are doing a lot of damage to me. I'm going to activate him. We're going to move up, because that way I might... Actually, yeah, we're in range now, so I'm not going to be long range. 2 hits, because we got that reroll. 1 save. So we reduced the numbers by 1 before they get a chance to shoot at me. Still 4 hits. Save it all. Nice. And over here, you guys, let's just shoot. No, we can actually hit the Rangers. That's interesting. It's 5 or better either way. I feel like these guys are more dangerous. Let's go for the Rangers. 1 hit. No save. Alright, 1 more down. Nice. So I'm going to maneuver hard on these guys. It might try to tempt him to come in and charge me in the rear. That's a possibility. Till end of turn. It's just this turn, so it doesn't really do anything, so we're fine. Alright, so we're on to the fights. So yeah, he's prioritizing these guys. That's a lot of hits. Ooh, nice. Saved all but 1. Excellent. I get 4 retaliation strikes. Get a couple hits. Passed both his rolls, but here we're going to get just a ton of dice. 15 dice to roll. And we re-roll. So we get 11 hits, which is insane. He saves a few. Killed all but 1 of them. Very nice. Failed his roll, so he's running away. Yeah, these guys, the berserkers hit really, really hard. All right, for charges. Yes, charge those guys. They ran too far away, so I can't charge them down, so that's all my charges. Shooting at my poor berserkers here, who don't have great armor, so 3 or better. Well, we saved quite a few. I haven't seen anybody rally when I've been fighting the enemy. So, thankfully, I can just change my positioning. Can even get closer if we want to. I don't know that I really want to. We can move up a tiny bit, I guess. Take the shot at the archers. 3 hits. 3 more archers dead. Right, not using any abilities, it's fine. Let's go ahead and take another shot at them. 2 hits. 1 save. It's 1 less archer. Okay. I might want to just have these guys get away from the fight. So that's what I'm going to do. Takes a bit to kind of turn around. So I'm just going to have them kind of moving away. The berserkers, though, can kind of push up here. Here, I'm going to go ahead and activate. The shield wall isn't going to matter too much. These guys aren't going to be able to do much to us. I'm going to go wild form so my character can do more damage and stuff. So once we get to the combat phase. So yeah, he's still running away in terror. So my character gets to go first. Hit on 4 or better. So we've got 4 skill to 4. So yeah, 50% chance to hit. We roll a bunch of dice and we get rerolls. Only 4 hits. No saves. Kills all but one of them. Then my regular guys roll. Complete slaughter, and we don't get hurt at all. So wipe them out completely. Very nice. All right, charges. I don't have any charges I can do. Taking shots at my berserkers, 6 hits. Save 4, so we still get a few picked off. But now we can just kind of beat the crap out of these guys. Let's just shoot them. They're in short range. Pick off a couple more. Right, I gotta click done first. 3, nice. Okay, absolutely slaughtering these guys. Let's go ahead and activate you. Gonna turn around. I want to maneuver it, not the whole map, thanks. I don't know if that's going to be in charge range for next turn. The games usually only go to 7 or 8 turns, usually. But we got pretty mauled here, actually. My veterans got absolutely trashed. My berserkers took a pretty big hit. We could try to chase them down here, but, you know, we're dwarves, we're not very fast. I'm just going to have you guys hang out back. Hopefully no one's gonna hit you. Yeah, you ran off the board, and that was it. Okay, so at the end of the battle, we get XP. So there's a chance to level up and get some stuff. There is some automatic replenishment. So you can kind of see we lost 5, but we had a couple replenished. We lost 6, had a couple replenished. These guys are quite weak. So if we'll do this first. So we'll level up our character. So we have the option of an extra attack, which is very good. Newly recruited units gain additional level, not bad. Reroll ranged and combat attacks against ranged units. I'd rather have the extra attack. Give me another attack. That's absolutely nuts. So he's fine. Boron's Protectors also level up. These guys are already quite tough. Extra replenishment, I think, makes more sense. I don't really care that much about the gold. So yeah, we'll just get the extra replenishment. So I have an option with these guys. I could go ahead and replenish up to 6, get 6.8, 6 to 8. I'm not sure if there's a dice roll there. How many guys? We could definitely get back to full strength, or I could take cash and be a little bit under strength for the next fight. I think I'll do that. I'll take the cash. The veterans, we level up. What do we want? Max unit size would be nice. Get us to 20. But the base replenishment rate would also be good because we got really mauled. I'm going to take the unit size and just try to keep them safe for the next fight. And then I'm going to go ahead and take the replenishment. So they get up to 9. So I might want to keep these guys safe. Both of the bolt throwers, totally fine, didn't lose any crew. We'll just take the cash. And then our berserkers are down a couple guys. These guys are a bit easy to get wiped out, so I'm a bit more concerned about them. I'll just get them back to full strength. Especially, we have one unit we want to protect. I think we can kind of do that. So yeah, we want to head on this direction. So I think that'll give you a good idea of like how the combat works. That was kind of an interesting choice of opponent there because I haven't really seen these guys before to be able to have like that much ranged attacks coming in. I think if I had a faster army with cavalry or something, I would have been able to deal with that a lot better, but we're dwarves. So, I mean, I could have just hung back and shot with the bolt throwers and just stayed away. That would have been an option, but it would have made things a lot less interesting as far as the battle goes, I guess. But yeah, so a little bit of a look at SOVL. I might do more videos as I move through this, because the fights are actually pretty quick as we go. But yeah, I've only played around with this one faction, so I'm not sure how unique the different factions are. There are paid additional factions, but the base game is free and comes with a bunch of factions that are free, including dwarves and humans, and I think there's an undead that's part of the free guys. Might be kind of fun to play with, and orcs, of course. So kind of your standard fantasy races and stuff. And then the paid DLC, there's like lizardmen, there's kind of the equivalent of like chaos warriors, the equivalent of Skaven called the Ratkin, and then there's the wood elves, or wood elves or high elves. I'm calling them wood elves because they look kind of like more like wood elves. But yeah, it's definitely interesting that they have this game for free. It is very, very basic. I'd like it to be a bit more like Warhammer Fantasy. I'd like things to be a bit more clear. I'd like the combat to work a little differently. But that would probably make the battles take longer or be less impactful because you'd have more difference. I'm not sure about, like, I kind of, in a way, I like the mutual fighting at the same time, so the simultaneous fighting going on. But I also think it makes some weaker factions that might be less tough, but a little faster, like elves or Skaven, a little weaker. But I also really, really liked the Warhammer system where you'd compare the weapon skills to each other, and that would kind of determine your chance to hit. This kind of has that, but it only has a very small impact. And then I think the armor saves and stuff, like it doesn't make sense necessarily that like goblins wearing, scraps of cloth only have a 1 die point save difference, or maybe 2 dice point save difference against like dwarves and heavy armor with shields and helmets and stuff. That kind of thing would be nice to see. A bit more of a variety in that, but it gets into balancing and stuff at that point too. So I can kind of see where they're trying to go with trying to making it fairly balanced. It makes it easier to balance those units out, keep the armies small, that kind of thing, and have the battles have a lot of weight. But I would like to have a little bit more of that Warhammer flavor kind of added in as far as the rules go for that stuff. But yeah, otherwise, I've been having fun with it. And this is kind of interesting, like your units progress and get skills and get better weapons and stuff. All very, very cool as you progress through. But yeah, it's been a look at SOVL. I've been DisturbingPuppet. Thanks for coming by. Hopefully I'll see you next time. Until then, have a good one.